Hey everyone, today we're gonna be checking out another clip from the Whatever podcast. In this clip, we're gonna be checking out a feminist who believes that white people cannot suffer racism. So let's just get right ahead and get started with the clip.
If you're racist towards white people or you're sexist towards men, from your purview, assuming the racist thing being done is equivalent in the sense that it's the same thing. So, for example, a white person walks up to a black person and punches them in the face because they're black, versus a white person, and let's say they have comparable strength or whatever. A black person walks up to a white person and punches them in the face, and they both suffer the same injury, and the pain is equivalent or whatever. Would you agree that those are both racist acts?
Like, sure, you could say they're racist. They're just super, super different.
How are they different, though?
Because black people have been oppressed over history.
I suppose I understand, but in terms of the harm done, can you make a case for why one is worse than the other?
Yeah, a white man punching a black man is like...
Because they're black.
Because they're black,
Yeah.
is feeding into a massive racist agenda.
It's also not that, it's also the systemic repercussions that come from it, right? So if a white man is punching a black man, white men tend to have a lot more privilege judicially in the
I don't
courts
think this
when
is
it
the
comes
case at
to
all.
it definitely is the case. Versus when black men are being tried, they tend to face much higher sentencing, much longer jail time, and much higher fines. So yes, while the action may be the same, the repercussions that come for it in terms of judicial repercussions, in terms of arrests, etc., are much higher.
Okay, so let's just get something straight real quick. Doesn't matter what your skin color is. If you hate anyone or if you attack someone because of their skin color, that's the only reason, then obviously it's a racist act. And it's racism. Doesn't matter what your skin color is or what their skin color is. If they're black, if they're white, whatever, of course, it's still racism. So I don't know what they're trying to say, that it's not the same if a black man does it to a white man than if a white man does it to a black man. I don't really get the point, but let's keep watching and let's see what they say more.
Well, perhaps this might be the case, and perhaps you might be able to point to some evidence of bias or discrimination in the court system. But again, my point relates to the harm inflicted on the individual. So that's a secondary thing. If you're the perpetrator of a crime, perhaps you do encounter biases in the court system. Sure, I'll go ahead and grant it. But I'm pointing to something different, which is the racist component of that. So that's like secondary downstream effects of somebody's violence.
I mean, if we're talking about race here and racism, sure. If by definition, textbook definition, people can be racist to white people, do I think it has the same systematic implications and harm? Absolutely not.
Well, I mean, I don't see how you can get around from assuming two people, a black person and a white person, have the same level of force.
Yeah, I just explained judicial repercussions.
Right, but you're saying harm, so when I'm thinking of harm, I'm thinking of the victim. And in this case, if you have two men, one white, one black, who are equivalent strength, and they throw the same punch, the actual physical harm done to the person, I would say, is equal. And then if it was racially motivated, the racial component of it is equivalent. It's wrong for both.
Yes, sure, of course I can agree that it's wrong for both, but I'm saying the implications are much higher when it is a person of color that has been systematically oppressed. And then on top of that, if we were going to talk about the victim, one victim may seek justice from the person that harmed them while another may not.
I mean, look, I'm not sure I fully even buy into your position on that, though. I think I would say...
So you don't think that police have
media
bias towards people of color?
All right, so I'm trying to understand her point here. Basically, I think this is her point. I might be wrong, but what she's saying is when it's done to people of color, it's worse than when it's done to white people. I think that's what she's trying to say. I might be wrong, but it sounds like that's what she's trying to say. Well, if that's her point, at least, then I think that is completely wrong. And I think, just my opinion, no matter who it's against, it's the same level of wrong. So it doesn't matter if it's white, black, Asian, whatever. It's still wrong to the same degree. So I don't really get her point here. It seems like she's trying to make it sound like it's worse when it's against some people than when it's against others.
I think it can exist. However, I would actually point to, for example, I think there's a lot of hand waving actually by the media, and also actually in terms of the social pressure that's enacted upon the judicial or the criminal court system.
Only in some cases, only if it's televised.
Hold on. I think it actually, first I'll start with the media. I actually think that the media absolutely has a field day when the perpetrator is white and the victim is black. However, you reverse the roles. I see oftentimes there's a lot of hand waving by the media, and we can actually point to this. There's been many police killings of white men that are actually worse than George Floyd's killing, and they've been completely hand waved away. There's one absolutely appalling video where I've seen two. I saw two actually around that time period, where one guy was made to crawl. A white man was made to crawl to the police, and they killed him with a firearm. I can't recall the name of the case, but people in the chat might actually be able to. If anybody in the chat knows Tony Timpa, I think it is. And then there was another one where it wasn't in the hallway, but the white man was killed by a police officer. When white men are killed by police officers, tons of media hand waving, don't really care. There's not mass protests and riots. It's absolutely the case. And then also,
when white people are killed in the media, it is always sensationalized, especially missing men, missing white men, or missing white women, or missing white children, versus black men and women who are missing.
Remember the high school track meet where some poor, like 18-year-old white boy was he was stabbed to death by a black male high school student, stabbed to death at a track meet, right? And there's a lot of hand waving in the media.
I think Brian has a pretty good point here. I think a lot in the media you shouldn't really trust too much, and I think a lot of the media is biased as well. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, that one gets more focused than the other, but I think you should be careful about the media, especially in which one you trust on the media and which you don't, because a lot of media are very biased towards one or the other, and then they will make the story fit their narrative most of the time. So you should be careful about what you trust when you see in the media. That's my take on this one. But I agree with Brian's point here. I think he has a good point with this one.
No, that was also very popularized.
They raised like millions of dollars or something for a GoFundMe.
Okay, there was also a white woman who called a black child.
Don't say the word. I know what you're talking about.
I don't say the word. I would never do that.
I know what you're talking about. But that's wrong, by the way, that she was behaving that way.
Yeah, and she also got $1 million in a GoFundMe as well. You know, like we can cite all of these examples, but if we're looking at it statistically speaking.
Okay, just quickly, like 10, 15 seconds. I just want to point out that these cases, both are wrong, but one is much, much, much more wrong than the other one. One was taking the life of someone, the other one was saying a racial slur. Now, of course, both are wrong, but you cannot really compare those two like she's doing here.
Black men are killed at a higher rate by the police for doing way, way less than a white man would be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be probably, at least per capita, I would actually have to, I'd have to look at the per capita stats.
I mean, if we're talking about the police force was literally created as a way to police slaves and give them back to their owners. No, that's accurate.
That's fake news.
It's not fake news. It was created.
You think police enforcement, law enforcement isn't like thousands of years old?
No, I'm talking about specifically in the United States. The reason it was created and become so popularized was because of property, specifically slaves running away. That is how our modern day police force started. It's not fake news. It's not fake news.
Completely fake news.
I go to university and I study this. Where do you get your news from?
hold on. Where do you study it? In
I
your,
go
like
to Georgetown.
sociology?
No, I study foreign policy at Georgetown University.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've gotten some sort of like ridiculous propaganda presented
No,
to
there's
you.
no propaganda. It's
So just to be clear,
accurate research studies and papers that I read.
So just to be clear, there was no law enforcement prior to slavery in the United States.
Oh my God.
You think law enforcement?
I'm saying
Hold
our
on.
modern
Do
day
you
police
think
force was started.
That's ridiculous.
That's
claim.
not ridiculous.
Completely
Search it up, you'll
ridiculous
find
claim.
it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of like woke liberal bullshit, like revisionist history or whatever.
Nope.
Here, answer this. Are there other things that law enforcement can concern itself besides slave-related matters?
It was created in order to protect property. Okay? At the time,
What?
All right, so I just want to quickly talk about this point real quick because I actually know this one pretty well. I've studied this one. So actually, she's a little bit right, but she's also really wrong. So what she's right about is that yeah, there actually were police created to keep the slaves in check and this stuff, and keep making sure they don't run away and all this stuff. But this was only in the southern parts of the U.S. Now, she says that the modern police force and everything is from that, and this is completely untrue. The modern police force is from the northern part of the US, which uses a more European one that they use in London, the police force institution. It's modeled after that one. So what she's saying that the modern police force is like the one in the southern is completely wrong. So she's a little bit correct that there were actually these police forces created for the slaves back then, but this was only in the southern part of the United States, not in the northern one, and the modern police force has nothing to do with the one from the southern one. So that's just my quick take on this one. You can read about it if you want to, but at least that's what I learned. So let's keep watching.
This is a complete revisionist.
okay, so if you just want to brush away my point and laugh at it without citing accurate facts, then okay.
I can demonstrate it just simply logically.
I don't need you
Does
to demonstrate
crime-
it logically.
I can demonstrate it logically.
I do my research. I know what I read.
Okay, so do you think there were any societies that existed where can crime exist absent slavery?
Sure.
Okay, so if crime,
I'm telling you the modern day police force that we know now. Okay, you know what? You can laugh.
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead,
but
laugh.
to say that law enforcement in this country existed strictly due to slavery.
I never said it strictly, but I said that the police force that we currently have at its grandiosity, we have so many of those officers because slaves were running away and they needed enforcement to ensure that the slaves could remain in their owner's possession.
There's probably no dispute that yes, when slavery was legal, yes.
Okay.
Law enforcement had a hand in like slave-related like.
And that
runaways
is
or
when it
crimes or
became.
whatever.
That is when the.
But this idea that like law enforcement wasn't like a base necessity for society and civilization, you seem to be like ignoring the general idea that crime is a thing, and we're going to have law enforcement officers combat crime and investigate crime.
So she thinks in her mind that southern and northern is the same, and she believes that the modern day police force came from the southern one, which were where the police was mostly made to keep slaves in check. So it's kind of dangerous what she's saying here. She should not say that the modern police force was created for that. That's definitely untrue. You can look it up yourself if you don't believe me, but yeah.
Yeah, I understand that, and I'm not ignoring that. I'm saying it became as rampant and as large, and what we know it today to be the modern police force due to slavery.
It's okay. We're off topic here.
You can't do it to ChatGPT to
I
expel
think
what I'm
this
saying.
is what I
find
was
you
referring
sources.
to by the argument earlier of like we can't just agree when it's necessary. I feel like there are plenty of points where Brian has made, and it's like objectively just agree with him. Just agree with him. And then go from there. And then go from there. Sorry.
I don't agree.
Hold on. So look, let's.
I'm not going to pretend to agree just to like
Okay,
appease
that's fine.
someone.
We don't need to linger on it longer.
Alright, so that was the last part of this clip, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have anything you wanna see next, please type it in the comments and let me know how the video was. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and a subscribe, since it helps me out a ton. Thank you so much for watching.